yeah, I gotta edit the title. Shit. Update the title with. Okay, they did it. So we're gonna take the stream down just half a second. Do 1, 2, 3, and 4. We going live. Yeah,
Yes,
there he
sir.
is. There's Clarence.
Oh boy, they done
Yep.
left us alone again.
They did
When
leave
will
us
they
alone
learn
again.
to stop doing that?
I don't know. I don't.
But here we are,
They
once again,
they should never leave
just us.
the dynamic duo.
Mm-mm.
I think True is fitting to bust in here around 10:35.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay. Not entirely alone.
No.
True is
But
good.
they are leaving our behavior. It's like having a babysitter who's drinking with a
Yeah,
joke.
yeah, that's right. They left True with us. He'll just vibe along.
Yeah. Like, definitely big Peter Griffin babysitting vibes there. So like,
Yeah,
did they
yeah.
do what they were supposed to do? I'm gonna contest no.
You have to bring the spicy then.
Gonna get so spicy.
Today is a day for spiciness.
Well, we're on. I'm Dan Cohen. I'm joined by Michael Jordan Peterson.
What's up, bitches?
Uh, I don't know. Maybe that's not the correct opener for tonight, huh?
No. Oh,
Yeah.
no.
That's what Clarence Thomas just said to the nation. So,
Yeah, he was like, "Fuck you and your couch."
yeah, fuck you and your crotch.
Especially your crotch.
Yeah, it was really cool too that like right after he's like, yeah, abortion, that's a states' rights issue. Haha. Got your asses. Also, we're coming for gay marriage and contraception.
That is exactly what he did.
Yeah. Which this is going to sound weird for tonight because on the one hand, like, my daughter just lost a bunch of her rights single-handedly. Um
Yeah,
yep, those are gone.
her and everyone else.
Yep.
Get in line, buddy.
Yeah. Um
Get in line.
so I should be more pissed, but I got to tell you, I got to be honest here. Like there's a part of me that feels a smug sense of self-satisfaction right now when people are out hoeing for pro life Democrats like Joe Manchin. So yeah, how's it working out? How you doing? How you done? How's it going? How's the country doing? Everything going good? Huh? When we say those kind of assholes suck, and you're like, no, that's the best we could do. Yeah, yeah. Instead
Yeah,
of
that's what they do.
passing policy that helps people, and you kind of just tag on the other stuff instead of attacking the institutions of whiteness. Um, Joe Manchin, best we can do. Henry Quay, our best we can do. So there is I'm not gonna lie. There's a smug sense of folie à deux watching like liberals who have just absolutely shit on the left, um, really get their fucking comeuppance. That's what your fucking hard work has gotten you. You have lost some of your rights, and those chodes that you look down on, they're absolutely fucking laughing right now, and they're not done.
Maybe we should vote harder.
Yeah, oh my god, vote so fucking hard, Daddy. Vote me so hard. Yeah, yeah. How'd voting work out for you? How's voting for those Democrats been working? Under their leadership, you've lost rights. They're going to roll this shit back pre 70s. Women might not be able to have credit cards soon. That's coming, bitch. So, like,
Ooh,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, don't
that
turn to.
level.
What's that?
Yeah, that level.
Yeah. Why the fuck not? Why not make them entirely dependent on a man? That's the fucking goal. They're telegraphing that's what they're trying to do. And the fact that you don't believe them, that's kind of a you problem at this point.
Hey, this is the literal fox guarding the hen house.
Yeah, yeah. You put assholes like Nancy Pelosi and fucking Hillary Clinton on a pedestal. By the way, too, you know what's notable in this time of crisis? Hillary Clinton's like, you know what though? Fuck trans people. Okay,
Yeah,
we're not gonna be able to win votes if we're you know, and honestly, like there are
and,
plenty of
Nancy out here saying you can be a Democrat and be anti-abortion too.
yeah. Oh yeah, that was a couple weeks ago, wasn't it? I guess a month or two now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's
Uh-huh.
exactly what she said.
Yeah, that those are the people you trusted to protect your rights.
Unironic.
And you can say up and down from your little like what they love to do is they like to start playing little political games because like they do all of the homework, they read all the Nate Silver articles. They're such good little political students, right? They're like, well, it's not really worth it to focus on people like Manchin and things like that. Like, you should have a target. You should know who your enemy is. You should know what you're trying to do because you need to have a long term political project. And it starts, I'm sorry, but it kind of starts with who do I freaking hate?
What are they trying to do anyway? No one filled me in. It seems like they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, they don't have a political project. No, their political
They don't have
project,
a plan.
yeah, their political project is to protect whiteness, right?
Mm-hmm.
This does not hurt whiteness. If you're racist enough, this is a big boon to whiteness. Mansion
Mm-hmm.
Mansion certainly wants to protect Weiss, and they go, no, he's running through his wallet. Look at the color of his skin and what class his wealth puts him in. You're going to have to when they start talking about like critical race theory and shit, right? Like you're going to have to actually use that. You like defend CRT or pretend it's this fucking boogeyman that doesn't exist. It exists. It's real. Apply it. Utilize it. See what they're doing. And the thing is, these rich liberal women who are fucked off right now are mad that they're getting cut out of the project of whiteness. That's it. That's all they're mad about. Because when whiteness gave them the power to do, call the cops on black dudes, when it gave them the power to call the cops on black women who got too uppity, when it gave them the power to have their Latino gardener deported if she demanded a fucking raise, they were
Oh
fine
yeah,
with it.
they love that shit. They was like, "Cool, this is
Yeah.
pretty tight."
And what's the first thing that comes out of everybody's mouths? Like, well, I'm not like that. Like, if you're listening to the show, no, you're probably not, right? Unless you're hate listening to this right now. But if you are hate listening to this right now, that's you. And how's it treating you? You just lost some rights, and they're going to take more. They're coming for more because they're not going to be satisfied until they make you unhappy. And even then,
Yeah,
once
they
you're unhappy and they're unhappy, they're still going to be unhappy.
blood in the water, blood in the water.
But
We
for
got
real though,
blood in the water.
you know, the Republicans aren't done. This is you think they're as lazy as you are? They've proven they're not. They have had a 40-year project to fuck you over, and now today they've won. They're not done. They're going to move on to the next project. They're not like you. They're not comfortable. The majority of them who are going to back these votes, right? Who are going to install like the system of power you think you have on the Democratic side is what they really do have on the Republican side, which is essentially first I convince my voters of a point. My voters then go out and elect people to do what I want to do, and then I go ahead and get done what I wanted to get done. The voting works for Republicans, works very, very well. It works for whites,
But not for you.
not for you. They just told you something very important. You're no longer white. How's that make you feel? And you go, oh, that's a
Yeah,
bit of a fucking stretch, isn't it, Dan? Is
they
it?
don't even consider you human.
Yeah. You white women, wait, welcome to the club. You are just a vessel for reproduction to produce white men. That's what you are. You're an incubator for white men. You're nothing else, right? So every time you went, oh my God, Bernie gives me the creeps, or fucking yeah, well, okay, fine. Bernie gave you the creeps. Counterpoint, you're not a person anymore. Good for you. I'm glad that Bernie wanting to give poor people some health care was so fucking egregious that you had to say anti-Semitic shit about him and deride the Jews and back people like Ben Shapiro and back people like Chuck Schumer who don't give a shit about you as a human being. because you didn't want non-whites having things. You didn't want non-white. You didn't like reparations. Reparations rubbed you the wrong way, right?
Was it worth it?
Was it worth it? Do you like what happened because of the way you viewed the world? Do you like what happened? So when you come later arguing, oh, you got to do this, I don't have to do shit. My plan has been the same. I'm not going to waste my energy or time with people who don't view me as part of society, right? I'm not going to waste my time trying to protect people who don't recognize me as a Jewish male, who don't recognize me as an adult male, who don't recognize my identity and treat me with the sovereignty it confers on me, which is that of the human being. Because to have one of these identities, you have to first be a human. I'm not going to do it. You want me to go out of my way to keep electing people who will invalidate me and validate your bullshit. Well, doing that has just invalidated you. It's done nothing. That's money and labor wasted. That's a bad decision. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Can't agree more.
Yeah.
It just gets me, man. They thought they was winning. They got everything. How do you have everything and this shit still happens? Let me tell you, they do not care. They don't care about you.
They
Use
believe
just money to them.
Yeah. They believe that there was an equivalent a political project to grind out the left entirely, and then have these fucking fantasy civil debates among equals, right? Because they're all in the same class. And that's only true at the leadership position, and it's becoming less true because they're looking for authenticity. They really do want the schizophrenics in power to achieve these ends. It's no longer about money. This is an ideological project. It's something to live for. You don't have anything worth living for. You had, we got to make sure to protect my private property. I don't know what's more private than your genitals. And you voted against them.
It's a good one, yeah.
It's fucking hilarious how many TERFs are going to be out there. I think that's the part that hits me the hardest, right? There's going to be so many motherfucking TERFs out there going, this is a fucking injustice. There's going to be so many motherfucking TERFs screaming, this is a motherfucking injustice. And they're not going to see anything ironic about their behavior. Right?
Nope. Now they want to get out on the streets.
Yeah, now suddenly they want to back a left political project. They want included, and Hillary wants to include them to the fucking detriment of the trans community. In the middle, the best part is it's in the middle of fucking Pride Month, right? In the middle of Pride Month, they were like, "Yeah, we can just punch women right in the face," and Hillary Clinton will respond by punching trans people, not punching Republicans. Not urging her voters to come to a coalition to move the party left enough to defeat these measures and get some laws passed. No, just fuck trans people. Straight up. Fucking TERF's gonna TERF. And then they're gonna protect they're building the same exact project. I'm perpetually gonna be angry. I want somebody else's life to be worse that has no bearing on my own existence. And every time I make it worse by being mean, I'm still unhappy.
Are they winning yet? Man.
I think the answer to that is no. I think they're fucking up real bad.
And this is before the Republicans get their power back.
Yeah. They did this under the Democrats. Watch. I mean, the Democrats are a failed political party. It is self-evident that 2016 killed the Democrats as a functioning political party. That's gone. That's over. There are going to be invariably individual Democrats that will be worth political effort and political expenditure of time. But as a whole, the party is a dead thing, barely moving, barely breathing. It's gone. It's not. It is demonstrably true that it cannot do the alleged politics that you need it to do.
But it got the money. That's all you needed to do.
Right. That's what it does now. It absorbs money. It absorbs money from the economy to pay Democrats. It functions as any other business. It tries to, it tries to do the bare minimum possible for the maximum amount of profit. You wanted your politics like a business, you got it. This is what businesses
they
do.
got the business.
You've achieved that. You've achieved your goal. You didn't want a politics of restitution and reparation for harm. You didn't want a politics of sovereignty for the individual and their rights. You didn't want, you keep complaining about democracy, but the democracy you long for is the democracy that produced this. So you don't really give a shit about democracy. You certainly don't have a political project in hand. What you cared about, like, let's be cold for a moment. What did you care about? Why, we had to keep power over black people. Well, you got it. This is the cost. This is what that costs. You're paying the cost. Your rights have to go away so they continue to retain that power. And you go, well, Clarence Thomas is black. It can't be about that. I'm going to tell you right now, Clarence Thomas is whiter than I am. He's friends with far more rich white people. He has a bigger class identity with rich white people. He makes far more money than I do. He wields an infinitely bigger voice in society.
That's that thing where they confuse one for the other.
Yeah.
You have no standing with them.
Yeah, I don't have any standing with white people. The white political project doesn't do anything for me. The white political project is detrimental to me.
Here's how that goes. And I quote, "That sounds like communism."
That's what I would advocate for as the means to restitution. Obviously, I don't think anybody on this podcast right now is going to say no, communism bad.
Not even the Catholics.
Oh, I don't think he wanted to hear it today.
Oh no. He's probably stayed away on purpose.
Yeah, smart on him. As I'm swinging real hard today.
For the fences.
Well, you need to understand, white women, is you are expected to fall on the sword so white men can continue to torment black men so that you can continue to keep your property. You are expected to birth white soldiers to do that act. So
you are property. You are commodity.
You are a vehicle of oppression to them, nothing more, nothing less. This is why every time you side with them to fuck over the left, you get fucked. And then you get mad at the left. You shouldn't get mad at the left. You should get mad at yourself. Because your greed drove you to this.
I couldn't have seen it. Yes, you can. Yes, you could.
The fact that you didn't means you weren't paying attention or you intentionally looked away. They said they were going to do it and they fucking did it. They meant it. Every rich woman right now who's pissed off that there's no abortion, this is what you wanted. You wanted this world. You begged for it. You did this to other women because you don't see them as people. They're property to be managed. You got what you wanted. Now you're fucked too. You see Hillary Clinton and assholes like that talking about the fucking Handmaid's Tale. How many women are going to have to go through that now? Not them. Not their shitty kids. Other women are going to have to go through that.
Oh, yeah. The Handmaid's Tale. They love bringing that up.
Oh, they absolutely love doing it.
It's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
The Handmaid's Tale is supposed to be an exaggeration of what already happens.
Right.
You shouldn't let it get to the point of the Handmaid's Tale. Because you know that this is the trajectory already.
Yeah, and it's going to be secular. It's not going to be the Handmaid's Tale. It's going to be the Handmaid's Tale brought to you by fucking Coca-Cola is what's going to be. Right? That's why it's an exaggeration. Because we're not religious enough.
Brought to you by Fox.
Yeah, it's going to be brought to you by fucking Black Rifle Coffee and fucking, I don't know, Cuck Shooter Monthly and all this shit.
Brought to you by Hobby Lobby.
Yeah, and Charlie Kirk is going to be the face of it. The giant potato face of it. But yeah, you let absolute perverts have power. We've said for decades you have to destroy the Supreme Court in its current form because it's unfucking constitutional. Right? It itself is against the Constitution. It's in the Constitution, but it's against the fucking Constitution. Because it denies one man, one vote, right? It denies legislative authority. It denies democratic authority. It's designed to do those things. Oh, you're being ridiculous. You can't do that stuff. There's all tradition, blah, blah, blah. Well, here's your fucking tradition, too. We have a great tradition in this country of oppressing women. You got what you wanted. We protected tradition. The Republicans are absolutely upholding an American tradition of fucking pissing on the Constitution that they claim to love, which we all know that's a goddamn lie. So seriously, if you know there's a rich white woman, you put this episode, put it on a device that you can throw away, and you just leave it. Let her hear it. This is what the public thinks of rich white women. What it should think of. If you don't think of rich white women in this way, frankly, you're kind of fucking up. You're not reading the room. Hillary Clinton is not your friend. This is her fault too.
Look, Mac. Look, Jack. Look,
we got Biden here.
Oh man.
Look, Mac. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas is a good friend of mine. Why, it seems like it was just yesterday when we were driving together in my long car, me, Clarence Thomas, and Strom Thurmond, and I was helping everybody get along because Strom wouldn't stop calling Clarence the N-word. And I said, look, Mac, we're gonna have to, you gotta, in this country, my dad used to say, look, Mac, you gotta, in this country, we're gonna have to get along. We're gonna have to compromise. And from that day forward, Strom Thurmond only called Clarence Thomas the P word. And that's how you legislate. That's how you get things done.
President Biden, just to clarify, is the P word the N word but with the letter P in front of it?
Essentially, yes.
Okay.
But
thank you.
That's what compromise is. Okay? It's putting a silent letter in front of another word that's still a horrendous slur. And that's what compromise is. Look, Mac, okay, all right, it's not really the president. It's me, you guys. Hey, you guys.
It was so good.
I know it was unmistakable for the president of the United States. The
Actually, you were a little too coherent.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't trail off enough times and address the listener by enough different nicknames in the same sentence, and then also I didn't say that I shouldn't have said something and apologize for it. I shouldn't have said N-word. I meant to say spear chucker, like he does.
Jesus Christ.
What?
Yeah, all I have to ask is don't say the national word tonight, all right? We're on thin ice already. Rich women are pissed. As soon as rich women find out that we all see them for what they are, they're going to be mad at us and blame us for Clarence Thomas, who they had an opportunity to stop, for Brett Kavanaugh, who they had an opportunity to stop, but didn't, right? But didn't.
Literally, I mean, this is not a surprise. Like, I'm not some grand old guru of knowledge to say this. Like, everyone knows this, but the guy who's responsible for Clarence Thomas being confirmed is president right now. Because he screamed down the credible accuser that told everyone point blank period that Clarence Thomas thinks women are property. Like, she told us that, and Joe Biden personally shut her the fuck up in front of Congress and God and the world and everybody. Yeah. Back when he was, competent and young and had hair and shit.
Yeah. And what did he do with his competence? Fucking evil. What does his wife do? Did evil.
Same thing we do every night, Pinky. Evil.
Yeah.
Evil. Just absolute evil. I mean, these are bad people, right? They didn't do anything to protect it. They didn't threaten anybody. There are so many dirty tricks you can pull, but they're so in love with the veneer of democracy that they have to be the quote morally good ones, right? That's how these rich people have to be on the Democratic side. Where is that getting you?
Oh yeah.
And they're like, well, look what the Republicans did on January 6th, and look what's happening to them. They're poised to win another election because they exercised power.
Do you think it's weird that the police state doesn't know? Like, okay, in 2020, there were riots as a response to people being hunted like animals and directly murdered in their own communities by the cops, right?
Uh-huh.
So people were rightly pissed. They came out swinging. They fought the cops. They burned down a fucking police station, right?
Mm-hmm.
They did some real damage, but all those people, like the removal of the right to have an abortion, like they probably couldn't even have afforded to get one anyway.
Right.
So why did they have the riot shield brigade that looked like the fucking Sardaukar from Dune marching out in front of the Supreme Court today? It's mostly more well-off liberals that are disadvantaged and upset about that. Did they think that those people were going to riot the way that, people that were being hunted like animals rioted in 2020? Because it looked like they were ready for some shit, and I didn't see shit happen.
They
It's a real
marched.
shame because I bet they were loaded up with rainbow-colored tear gas for pride and everything. It's a real shame we didn't get to see that.
Yeah. It's because to some extent they believe their own bullshit. The Republicans really genuinely believe the relationship is the same between the Republicans and their voters and the liberals and their voters, which is like the liberals have the ability to wind their voters up and sick them on a population for political ends, right? And the liberals don't have that because they're what little political project they have, which is protecting white property, right?
Yeah.
Um, they don't have that relationship because their job is to suppress their voters. You look at how their partisans are talking right now. I've been having the fights, right? I've already been having the arguments for next year just by merely voicing that I'm pissed off at Joe Manchin. They're like, now's not the fucking time, and he's the best we can do. The goal, their political project brainwashes people into believing this really is the best they can do. This is the best they can hope for. It's a project of nihilism and hopelessness. The white political project of the Republicans is one of assertive authority, that we're going to get something that was taken from us. And
Yes, that it keeps getting more and more close to the return ideal of return to the pie cooling on the windowsill and the polite underclass that wouldn't pop off and everything. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, but they're going to be able to return their authority to just absolutely execute terror over black people in the street. And honestly, like the Democrats have been happy to aid them in it, right?
Yeah.
They've been fine. It hasn't hurt them to aid them. It's hurt women now, but this is I think this situation is evident that they don't give a shit about women because they've had over a month to retaliate, and their retaliation was a poem by an IDF soldier who was lamenting the Palestinians were alive.
I didn't even see that yet. It really was some Mossad asshole wrote the fucking poem.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I'm glad I didn't try to keep up the Joe Biden bit and like try to not laugh, because I would have laughed my fucking ass off when you said that anyway.
Well, that was
anyway.
response. That was Pelosi's response. Biden gave some mealy mouth bullshit. Again, he's had a month, and what they've done for a month is plan to fundraise. Because Democrats don't think very highly of their voters, and it's self-evident they don't even think highly of their rich voters. Like, they certainly don't think highly of the rich women voters who they pander to the hardest. And every time one of them speaks, like we're supposed to fucking fall to the prayer mat that we've now heard the voice of Allah, right? As it turns out, that was bullshit too. You didn't give a shit what they had to think. They've been demanding for a month that you protect them, and what did you do? You decided to fundraise off of them. You should lose female voters. You should, because you're not doing what they asked you to do.
No, literally they ran on it. Literally, every election has been the most important election of our lifetime because we have to protect the precedent established by Roe. And even though the Supreme Court's going very poorly because, somebody wouldn't retire and a lot of other reasons, we still think we can barely clinch this one if you'll just vote for us or whatever. Like, it was literally like a campaign promise in a sense that this explicit thing would not happen.
I'm gonna pull a bit of a Republican game right now. The Democrats say believe all women, but when women said they needed the Democrats out, they didn't fucking believe them, did they? Did they? No.
It's funny because we've always disregarded, like I know I do, and I know you guys do, probably anybody that's listening to this does. We've always disregarded all conservative philosophy as just laughable and ridiculous, and spent most of our time, picking apart, how liberalism stands in for like real progress and like how, it's not good enough and stuff. But like the Republican dudes, the right wing dudes, the Catholic dudes, the fucking libertarian dudes, the fucking trads, they were saying some amazingly gross shit today. And
Absolutely.
I specifically mean every time that they put on a big performance about wanting to protect lives or life or women or
Property.
babies or families. Yes, it's all phrased in terms of property. These are people
Yeah.
who I think even though we always forget to bust their ass because we spend so much time busting ass on the party that's in power, that's making all the fuck ups, the
But
Democrats, these are
all
people who they think there doesn't need to be such a thing as an abortion because if a lady is pregnant and that's inconvenient for them specifically, they'll just kick her ass in the stomach down a fucking staircase. I
yeah.
think that really doesn't. We really need to at least say that. Go all in on the Democrats, of course, we often do. But Republican right wing dudes don't care about abortion because they do the abortion in their house if they want one.
Yeah.
100% of the time.
Yeah. Because Republicans are fucking murderers. Hey, Reposado. So we did have Reposado and the True Horror join us.
What an honor. We're not on our own here.
Yeah, you guys were smart because we were about to. You
Hey,
figure
you
45 minutes in.
got in
Oh, shit.
before I got to say that you're not supposed to eat the rich. You're not supposed to tax the rich. You're supposed to eat them.
Fucking
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. They're no good. You keep raising the tax rate, they're always going to evade the taxes. But, when you
They're
cook
just
one
gonna
up,
stay. They're just gonna be rich.
yeah. When you cook
They'll
one
get
up,
the
though,
power again.
he stays cooked.
Mm-hmm. Barbecue.
Hmm.
The apple
There's
and the
no
mouth and
coming back
everything.
from that. There's no way to money launder your way out of that.
Compost even.
I don't, I'm literally on break from work right now. I just knew that I knew you guys would be in here fucking lighting these motherfuckers up. I had to come get a piece myself. Can you hear me? Okay, I'm in the mobile. I'm in
Oh
the
yeah, you
mobile.
sound good.
I'm in my mobile campaign headquarters for my campaign for local government that I was telling you guys about last time.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's
Baller.
got all my stuff in here. I'm gonna take power. I'm gonna get like comptroller or something like that and
Good.
start making some changes.
Yeah.
But you ain't getting an abortion.
No, you can't do that anymore. That's over. But I'm gonna pass some common sense legislation. I'm not gonna do this purity testing, pie in the sky, leftist idealist thing where you can't get anything done. I'm gonna pass stuff that will pass. Okay, like the first bill I'm gonna table is I got this idea. We're gonna pass a law where if a spree killer if he doesn't also shoot the white guy, then he'll be charged with a hate crime.
Okay.
What do you guys think? Is that good?
That sounds
We're
like
gonna
the
call
laws we already have.
we're gonna call it the Buffalo Shooter Law. And if the spree killer sees a white guy and goes, "Oh, sorry," and he doesn't shoot him, then he's going to be charged with a hate crime on top of murder. That's a good one that we're going to pass down here.
That'll be a good one. I'll tell you what. Actually, what I really want to talk about tonight, like what kind of burns on my brain when this stuff comes up, right? The Democrats don't have a clear definition of a human, and the Republicans have they don't have a conception of what a human being is, and
That's a succinct way to put it because they don't even realize that they're that far gone.
right,
But they are.
yeah. Well, let me get
That's why we
get
refer to
worse.
them as hives.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
They call themselves the K hive. I mean, I don't know what else to say there. They conceive of themselves as an insect horde of an invasive biting species or stinging
You also got
species.
You also got the beehive. You got the Pete Buttigieg guys
No,
that use the little
not,
bee.
not bees. These is motherfucking wasps.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they are definitely wasps.
they're wasps that communicate exclusively in AAVE.
Oh,
It's an AAVE dance. They just
So
twerk. They twerk to
if
say approve
yes,
abortion rights.
if you
They're not
wanted to, you could say that they were Africanized wasps.
oh. Um,
This is all bad. Everything I'm
no,
saying tonight is bad.
it is bad. That's fine. I mean, it's a day of mourning. It's a day. Grief makes people sound and say terrible things. So,
Yeah.
even if they're true, they make you say terrible things. Like they make you realize the horrific truth of the situation. And this is kind of the horrific truth I found. The Democrats don't have a conception of a human being. They don't make as part of their political project what a human being is. For as filthy and degenerate as Ben Shapiro is, he does have a conception of what a human being is, right? And I said it was
Right.
horrific because their conception of a human being is the property of an ejaculator.
Yeah.
They're the property of a man.
Yeah.
That's what a human being
Yeah.
is to a Republican. It's the property of a man, right?
Yeah.
An ejaculating body.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the political project you're up against. Not about you're not offering. You pay lip service to. You certainly pay lip service to a notion of humanity that is coherent, right? That the left holds. You pay lip service to that, but you don't hold that as a political project. The Republican Party has a very clear definition of what a human being is once we distill through their bullshit rhetoric. It is the property of something that ejaculates. That's what a person is to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so
Feudalism with extra steps.
not even.
Can I interject
Yeah, you can interject.
just a little bit?
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Sorry about that.
Hey, what up?
Anyways,
Never apologize.
how far do you think this goes back?
What do you mean?
Because when did the definition of a human being derail for liberalism?
Since its inception?
Well,
Okay.
Since its
Like-
inception?
there's one time on this show where Dan did Kant, right? And the Kant thing is that a human being is it's an end unto itself, and it shouldn't be a means to an end, right?
Right.
So isn't their whole thing? Aren't they just like subconsciously mad that someone would say that, and trying to sort of refute that in the world without saying it out loud?
Well, let's be
Right,
clear.
like-
The Republicans do say it out loud. The liberals, there is a period. Let me put it like this: there's a period where enough whites were what you could call John Brown whites that the conception of a human being was a Kantian kind of notion, and that fell away. The project of neoliberalism, which is what, like, let's be clear, Liz Cheney and Nancy Pelosi agree on this wholeheartedly. That's why they don't fight very hard for abortion rights or openly disdain them. They certainly permit them to be threatened. Pelosi gave permission to those be threatened, and Liz Cheney, I think, is an anti-abortionist, right? And we've been wasting a lot of political capital praising her over the January 6th riot, but you're not fighting the ideological fight. You're not fighting the political fight. You're fighting, essentially, you're arguing that it was improper for Trump to purge his government, and you won't even use the words because you have a severe mental illness that won't let you say the words. Because you have, like, even to this day, even like commentators like the Young Turks who are like, they're fine. They can't really deep down believe that Trump became president when, like, that kind of washed over the rest of us the night of the loss. You know, like we just kind of accepted it.
Yeah.
But these are people who can't conceive of it. With the project of neoliberalism, so you can blame Jimmy Carter for this because you can blame Jimmy Carter for a lot of things because he was certainly for the intellectual masters who wanted to bring back the old way. Jimmy Carter was the first willing soldier. The Republicans, the only thing they did different was that they lied about it. But so you have to go through their rhetoric and their bullshit a little bit, right? You have to dig through it. So unfortunately, like the conception of women's rights in this country is that they are the receptacles of ejaculate and they are the property therefore of ejaculators. And they get certain benefits from that whiteness, which liberals have benefited from and enjoyed. So they weren't keen really to do anything substantive about that project, which one of those things, the biggest one, I'll say it again, is being able to torment black people, right?
Yeah.
Giving free reign to tormenting black people. Now for liberals it's black men primarily, for conservatives it's definitely black men, but it is black women as well. That's why they keep trying to rally in like Kamala and shit, because that's the difference, right? It's always about tormenting black men. The entire project is always about tormenting the black male body, but the difference is the liberals will let black women in. And we'll see how far, look how far that's gotten black women, to be very frank. You just lost a right that the liberals said was their gracious peace offering to take you out of poverty. You could, you could kill your baby to get out of poverty, which you can't, not really pro-life, you know what I mean? Like there's no pro-life conception of like, this is a solution of the poverty problem. Just kill your kid.
I guess if you try to pick a moment like Reptiliano, like you're saying, if you try to pick a moment, I guess Carter is a good moment, because that is a character who is, I'm sure it was just like, I mean, I wasn't alive then, but from what I've read and from what I've heard, it was similar to now. An essentially centrist or center-right figure who is a white Christian man, who is, everything that Republicans should like, doing all the things that they should like, but still they call him a Maoist, even as he does austerity and tries to make everybody be responsible and pay what they owe on gas prices or whatever. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it is a similar situation that we're in now, but I think I like, Dan's notion that it starts to come apart. The quiet part is out loud at Carter.
Yeah.
That's when everybody's like, oh, we took power back from the Republicans, now things are going to change. But then they don't. And these people that you're trying to make like a centrist or center-right peace offering with continue to tell you that you're a communist.
Right. Yeah,
but that's always going to happen, right? Like, they're always going to whine about, they're going to win and they're going to whine about it.
They're always going to whine about a Cantonian ethic where, like, humans have agency, because that flies in the face of the property of the ejaculator notion, right? The white ejaculator determines property. So
ever since we did that episode of this where we did talk about the Kantian thing, I've thought about that, and I feel like that notion is the thing that makes them more upset than anything. Yeah. That a person could be born owning or owed anything at all. That there could be any natural, just quality of being a human that would mean that you should be treated any type of way without you, without accomplishing a bunch of shit in the free market or whatever.
Without the society at all influencing what your station in life is, that you are born an individual free of constraint.
Yes, I maintain that infuriates them on a deep level.
Yeah. It does, because it reveals the fact that their position in society is as tenuous as that logic would make it, because that means it is a societal option to give them that undue power. It's not a false sense of ownership, which they still have, right? They have a false sense of ownership because that's what lets them be racist. That's the permission to be racist. If you just
because I saw in the news, like, moments after Roe v. Wade was overturned, I think a couple of states made abortion illegal.
Yeah.
Right, no?
They had mandatory trigger laws.
This feels like a modern day witch hunt.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Any woman who is not already a target will probably be in a better situation than, just like with, the witch trials, somebody that people thought was like uppity or like annoying to them or whatever. That'll be the person that they'll be watching to violate one of these laws. Will be the person that they already did not like. It won't have dick to do with like who goes to jail or who is tried or who is killed over this. won't have dick to do with who's done the deed and who ain't. It'll be all about, Goody Pritchard was always so snarky to me in Sunday school, and I think she's the one that poisoned our crops,
Yeah. It's yeah, there's going to be a certain element of that.
Which has always been the case, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's always been a thing where the class struggle includes the struggle for women's rights.
Absolutely.
The inception of capitalism.
What's important, though, is not retaining, like, this is the thing that pisses white feminists off who don't have a class analysis. It's your whiteness has to go. The entitlement to property on the basis of whiteness has to be destroyed. The formation of the white family has to go. Every white institution has to go, right? I'm not the only one saying this. If I'm wholeheartedly agreeing with Irami Osei Frimpong, right? Candidly, like, this is not 100% purely original material, but I am regurgitating it here because it's correct. Like, this is the situation that whiteness leads you in. You have to do these things. These are sacrifices you have to be made. There's no difference between what they were saying in the 1800s, what they were saying in the 1900s, what they were saying in the 2000s, right? The Great Replacement Theory or demographics or destiny, right?
From the 1600s onwards, right?
Yeah,
because
about the time they started conquering black people, right?
Because the witch hunt thing was all about, like, persecuting women that weren't women enough. That makes sense. They set up an ideal woman, which was a white woman in a sense, and anyone that couldn't, hold up to the standards of being a housewife or whatever. Maybe I'm being too reductive.
Right.
Oh yeah, no. In their worldview, that person ain't good for nothing, really. Just using up a bunch of resources that.
Right? Yeah. Their primary targets were spinsters.
Mm.
And there's no irony there, because spinsters don't have children, spinsters don't have a husband, spinsters don't have extended relatives that they're watching after. They were lonely women. They were a drain on society who weren't working. So the goal of society then was to purge this useless form of whiteness, right? This wasn't a grandma who did her vaginal duty and brought a white soldier into the world. And then, aged and raised the subsequent generations of white children. This is an old woman who just sucked away from society in their eyes, so they killed her. Because she wasn't a person to them.
And then later it moves to, younger people that are causing problems by doing stuff like, asking if the men really need to be spending all this time, air quotes, hunting, and air quotes, having important political gatherings and things. Like, anybody that was, like, complaining about anything, I'm sure, was next after they did all the spinsters, because that would be the thing they're still defending today, which is basically complete control over their own leisure time, complete control over all resources to sit around and endlessly do what they would call guy stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And I can tell you right now, if you have a sense of a feminism that's just based on gender, you have not that much in disagreement with J.K. Rowling, right? She doesn't have a class analysis, not a good one anyway. This is what that leads
certainly
to.
not.
This is why you have to have the class analysis. This is why you have to have the race analysis. This is the intersectionality we get. We Bernie bros, we dirtbag leftists, we filthy commies. This is the intersectionality they want to beat us over the head with as if it's some kind of a trump card. Well, as it turns out, you didn't have an intersectional analysis. You missed a critical component, that whiteness is based around wealth and property. It's not based around skin color. That is an after the fact, because that's an easy, recognizable definition. The people who
it's a convenient thing, right?
Yeah, it's convenient, right? Because you
it
can.
was a convenient thing back then.
Yeah.
Just choose the skin color.
Right. That's because
that misunderstanding. I guess that misunderstanding is at the root of why they think that they can still make a compromise with these people.
Right.
Is that they actually, in their pure little hearts, they actually believe that these people do have some sort of cultural identity that isn't just a manufactured in-group that's meant to defend, as you say, property, capital, etc.
Yeah, they don't understand that they believe firmly in the white political project, right? They think that it is routed primarily in some sort of backwards hillbilly ignorance.
Right. Like, well, maybe it would be okay if we all listen to country music together or whatever. Like, the people they're trying to appeal to don't care about that.
No.
The people they're trying to appeal to only care about the fact that they were born in a big club that some people ain't part of. Like, that's it. That's all, right?
Yeah, a property owning club, an arrangement of property that puts them on top and gives them permission to commit political violence against whomever they decide is worthy of having political violence committed against them. Most often black men. Right? Let's be real. That happens today.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, that's a condition of blackness in this country, that you could be subject to political violence. That's something I don't, I can know that. I don't know what it's like to have to sit down in a black body and reconcile the fact that there's a government agency that's the whole of the government, the whole of white society says that it is permissible to do violence against my body at any moment at the whimsy of whiteness to protect the project of, white people owning Denny's and shit like that. Right?
Yeah, we never will.
Yeah,
like, that's probably the line.
How does that feel, by the way?
Right. Old.
Oh, quick question, man. How many times have you been pulled over and the cop immediately grabs the gun?
Zero.
Personally?
Yeah.
You personally.
Oh, I don't know if you know this about black people, but the smart ones at least go through every length they can to not get pulled over and not deal with motherfuckers.
Because I've been pulled over like 3 times, and two times out of those 3.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy shit!
But also, I don't really go anywhere outside my wheelhouse,
All right. So
I have like an idea of like, you know what I mean? Like going through PA, I'm like on my P's and Q's because I don't know them cops, but cops around here, if you don't get pulled over once and they're looking for some shit, they don't really fuck with you. Now they have been known to bust people's heads just on the random. But again, I'm in more of an affluent area, so they pull me over. I do have access to a lawyer.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's not the case for everything, because they use the race and class interchangeably. So like, you know what I mean? Like they target lower class people, and it just ends up being black.
Yeah, well, the lower classes is now as with brown.
Right.
Most of the time.
Right.
Because they'll try to add in the Hicks or whatever they want to call them, but they're basically doing the same.
They do on
because they have to play that game. Because you remember that video where they pulled over that judge.
Yeah.
They were black, and that judge like, oh yeah, I'm your boss. What is your name?
Yeah.
Let me see your
lit
badge
his ass up. Lit his ass up immediately, and he's still. When you see that, you can tell that he still thinks that the person is conning him.
You can see his jaw just slacking and him look like a fucking retard.
When he finally figures it out, when he finally figures it out, it's bad for him. But up until that point, he's still like,
he's arrogant.
This is some kind of jungle trickery. Like, that's his approach.
Yeah.
The whole time.
That's what it's about. Predation to them is enforcement.
Yes.
Right.
Last Trader was confused by its own ignorance.
Overstepped
in their minds. In their
like
minds,
Pokemon,
it's become. In their minds, it has become an open shooting war between 2 factions, and all you're waiting for is when you're allowed to shoot the black guy based on the latest rules of engagement.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That is startlingly accurate.
And you know what? They do have a very deep resentment of liberalism. What was the joke running around on Twitter? These are all men who want to pull the castle doctrine against their ex-wives.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a joke. Like, that's
Never
not
a joke.
It's not really all that funny because it's chillingly accurate. That's what they want. They want an excuse to do that. Right? They do, because they want to have the same authority they have over black men to extend over white women, so that they are definitively in charge. That's the war within whiteness. That's what it boils down to. And it's not a matter of do white women have equal access to whiteness. It is very nakedly from rich white women. It is a game of do we have all of the power or not, right?
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton's not dishonest about that in any way. That's why she felt spurned and so fucking butthurt that she lost to Donald Trump despite not doing her job, because she felt pure entitlement. You can't feel pure entitlement unless you look at yourself in the mirror and go, yeah, I deserve this for really no fucking reason. Right?
Yeah. I should be allowed to be as big a monster as this other person, and then that would be equality.
Yes.
And then maybe after that we'll address some of the other problems in the world, but it's just literal, it's literal plain old equality without taking into consideration any of is the stuff that person is doing good. Like, hell no, it's all terrible shit.
Yeah.
Like, that's amazing. like when you put it like that, suffrage was the right to vote to do imperialism and war just like any man. When you put it like that, holy shit, right?
Yeah,
like
they make it, but they're just female.
Yeah.
You want to do the Petersonian take? Suffrage was the right for women to be included in the sin.
There you go.
Of U.S. imperialism. There we go. That sounds Petersonian enough.
Because Peterson wouldn't look at U.S. imperialism as a bad thing. You know, he looks at it as a good thing. Because remember,
I added a few words there.
Yeah, you were so close though. I mean, you definitely captured the theme, right?
Yeah.
And Peterson's project is a project of U.S. white male imperialism. So Peterson's project is just as violent. That's why he's trying to set women back. Like, he's definitely waging the gender war, right? That's part of his project.
Yep.
He's naked. He's naked and honest about it, baby. He means it. There's no denying it. People like Peterson mean what they say. When they say sexist, awful shit, don't worry, he meant it. You were right when you felt like, oh, this guy has to be a joke. He wasn't a joke. He's not. He is a joke, but he's not kidding, right?
He's not that type of joke. He's a joke, but
yeah,
he's like the bad type of joke. He's a joke that shouldn't really exist.
Yeah, by leftist standards, he is a demonstrably failed male, right? And we have to be comfortable saying something like that. We can't,
Yeah. After you strip away all of the bad things that we've just named out on this episode, like, what's left of the male identity after that for an actual leftist? Like, well, not much, but that's no tragedy, like. Is it true that after you scrape away all those traditional gender roles, there's not very much for a dude to do? Well, there isn't, but maybe he shouldn't be doing all that shit. Like,
I mean, there are so many things. There's so many things wrong right now, but like, again, I'm just gonna bring it up. There's an election this year, and this is what the Democrats have allowed to happen under their watch. So I can assuredly say that voting for a Republican makes you part of the project of whiteness. And for I'm going to quote Rami Yosef Frimpong, because again, I believe he hasn't nailed it correctly. If you participate in that project, not doing everything you can do about it, functionally makes you a Nazi too, right? Backing it.
Oh yeah.
Not being afraid to push it to change, not using your political power as best you can. Given the context, right? Not wielding that political power. You're just backing Nazis.
If you apply the same logic that most people apply to, like, World War II era Third Reich Nazis, then the German civilians that are cheering for the Hitler Youth Parade are pretty fucking bad. Like, I mean, if you apply that same logic to it, fucking Frimpong has had that fucking fire consistently.
Oh yeah.
Since shit, like, I didn't even know about that motherfucker until probably about a year ago. I think either you or Michael Jordan Peterson, one of y'all motherfuckers, posted that shit.
No, it was MJP.
In a Discord.
Yeah. I just.
Oh yeah, I'm the Jeremy fan here.
Yeah.
I was like, man, this motherfucker has the fire. It's like a non-extremist Hotep. It's a non-Hotep version of Dr. Umar. You guys,
right?
Have you guys seen Dr. Umar?
Yeah.
I've been introduced.
Unfortunately.
Dr. Umar is gonna undo all the wrongs of of Yakub one of these days. It's gonna undo all those wrongs. Was unfairly accused. I think, unfairly accused of being seen in public with a snow bunny. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Well, it's only
Yeah.
because he does that Hotep shit so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
If
thing
he
is,
wasn't doing that shit, then it wouldn't be a big deal.
nobody would give a shit.
Yeah.
Nobody would give a shit that somebody who said it's wrong to bang white women was out banging a white woman. If
It's like those Republicans that
Yeah.
like are
Well,
like
if it's like-
completely anti-gay and then
Yes,
they
yes.
orgy with like 26
Oh my
dudes.
God.
We do a little decolonization over here.
Yeah. Madison Cawthorn was not engaged in sexual gay sex. Madison Cawthorn was decolonizing his cousin's penis.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah,
It was ableist to not include him in locker room tomfoolery and cock smacking and other pranks that you do with your cousin. It was ableist to not include him in that stuff.
Yeah.
And it was actually very correct and progressive to include Madison in the big dick slapping party. It was
Right.
extremely thoughtful, I think, and people don't give him any credit. Honestly, I have a lot of sympathy for him and Dr. Umar because, as you guys know, political attacks upon me by my opponents have dramatically escalated.
From
Since I
0
started-
to happening since you started your
Yes.
campaign.
It's been really bad, you
No-
guys.
Nobody,
I'll
say it. I've seen it on Twitter. Nobody has ever been treated worse than you in the entire history. of humanity.
That's what's happened. And,
Yeah.
I didn't see that coming. There's no theoretical or practical explanation for why that is. Certainly not any actions that I may have taken in material reality. Definitely not that. This is
Definitely.
not a case of one's actions actually having an effect in which they are then held accountable for them.
Yeah.
No chance. Like just the other day, I was trying to give a speech about one of the laws that we're going to get passed. We're gonna pass a law that hires more teachers to lower the teacher to school shooter ratio,
Yeah.
because it's not fair for there to be so many school shooters that they can't all have the individual attention of a teacher.
Right.
I mean, that's primarily who interacts with the school shooter is the teacher, right?
Definitely not their parents. Definitely not their peers. Not their friends' parents. Definitely none of that. No, it's definitely
not the cops at any point
Although it is
would
the school,
interact
too.
with a school shooter.
No,
So we really, the answer is more teachers, because if we just had more teachers at all these school shootings, then less kids would get shot, right? I mean, that's undeniable.
That would be funding schools, man, and how they feel about that shit.
I know funding schools is a sketchy proposition. I know that's going to be hard to table, but this is common sense legislation that can pass. I'm telling you guys.
I'm gonna be cold, right? The first thing you need to do is you need to tell their parents they're shitty parents.
Yeah.
That's the first thing you need to do. That you're bad at parenting, and perhaps CYS the state ought to intervene because you're a terrible parent. And they that's making it political. Yeah, it's fucking political, because I'll tell you what does it turn into? Okay, you dipshits who go, oh, you're making it political. You can't say that just based on their politics or shitty parents. No, I can. I did. It was easy.
Yeah.
First Amendment.
Yeah.
How'd you like that?
Yeah.
They second off, they certainly have no problem saying it about you. If you have a gay child and you don't abuse them, they have no problem calling you a terrible monster, right? They have
instantly.
They have no problem calling you a child rapist on that basis, right? That's their
I'll
politics.
I'll step it up for you here. I'll go one further, and I'll say that if all of the school shooters had been using, say, a knife instead of a gun, then anybody that defended the Second Amendment after a school shooting would instead be saying that the child's parents are horrible monsters that ought to be tried and hanged.
Yeah.
But it's only the involvement of the firearm that takes them to a place where they have to take Kyle Rittenhouse on a fishing boat and help him catch a sole, which is a misunderstanding of what Kyle was asking for when he asked you to take him on the fishing trip. He said, I require a sole, and then you said, We can go on my dad's boat. It was a misunderstanding. Or when you put Kyle Rittenhouse in a video game, say, if he used to be a popular streamer, they're only doing that because he used a gun. If he stabbed a bunch of people, they would instantly say, exactly as you're saying, Dan, that the parents are at fault and should be tried and hanged.
I don't think so. I think honestly they would be like, yeah, he had to defend himself. Because remember, what was Kyle Rittenhouse's what was Rittenhouse's parents taught him to do? They taught him to defend whiteness and their property from these uppity, these uppity, N-words and their sympathizers, right? And
okay, you're right. You're right. You're right. There's a distinction here. There's a distinction here.
There.
They would defend Rittenhouse no matter what he used to kill those people, but there are rando school shooters that they wouldn't defend if they didn't use a gun. There's actually a line here. That's why Rittenhouse is so popular with them right now.
Yeah, but Rittenhouse was doing the project what his parents taught him to do, what his social world taught him to do, what society taught him to do, which was go defend whiteness. That's why they love him.
Is to pack military grade heat and walk around wishing someone would.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Just a murder with just a little timer ticking down above it.
Now riddle me this. If you don't make white people have white children and you don't put them in economic strain and you don't make their economic success a project of whiteness, how are you going to get more Kyle Rittenhouses out on the streets? How are you going to get more school shooters? How are you going to do it?
You're really not.
You're really
not if you don't do that.
Socialists have no need for that. The socialist paradigm has no need for that. We need to take out, to be crude for a second, we have to take the white people out of power. That's part of our project. That's part of our class project.
That's not even crude. That's just straight up the truth.
Yeah.
Well, it depends how you take those words take out, right? And I'm going to be ambiguous on those words because I think different measures...
Still not crude.
Different problems require different solutions is all I'm saying.
That's certainly why it's so fun to read somebody like Dr. Umar, because he is functionally correct on all the white devil shit.
Yeah, but his white devil shtick is nothing more than a way to back whiteness. Because what he does is he diverts black anger from the economic situation into fictional fucking voodoo, right?
I guess, it all eventually turns into the original Tribe of Judah lady, right? From the Donald Trump Jr. book fair, that lady that was saying that she knew the name of her slave master and everything. Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah. There's a deep mythology in it that does lead back to whiteness as a god figure.
Yeah. Anything that diverts your brain from recognizing your material conditions and what it takes to further those material conditions and who you should be allying with and who you should be sympathetic to, right? Anything that diverts you from that path, that's fucking mysticism. You have yourselves... See, this is where sometimes I don't shit on religion either, right? Because if you have...
Yeah.
And again, some of this, Rami agrees with me. Shit, like I said, he probably wouldn't. He'd articulate it differently, but whatever. Like, look, I'm not looking to hang out with a guy, but he's right. Like, let's boil it down, right? I'm not looking to hang out with a guy, but there's a political project we agree on.
Yeah.
If you
boys, I gotta drop off real quick. It was nice talking to you guys.
Oh, it's always a pleasure to have you.
Good night.
Likewise. Have a good one.
Always a pleasure. No, but
take it easy, man.
If you have a religious project that it functionally, I don't know, like to be very reductive, like make sacrosanct the Marxist tradition, great, whatever, go rock at it, have at it. That's a good idea. Like,
yeah,
it's not. They're like, oh, you have these ignorant atheists who walk around going like, well, you fucking do all make believe. That's not the point. We're all skeptics here. So you can either you can back a variant of that wholeheartily and push people who are religious towards a variant, right? If you're a skeptic, you can do one of two things. You can say like, well, you fucking believe in these fucking fairy tales too, and be an ignorant little shit with your little skeptic mind, which just leads you back to conservatism because you believe in, you have a nihilist worldview. Or you can go like, oh yeah, that shit's really good. Yeah, that's good. That's a good thing. You can just do that. You can just stay the hell out of the way. And because again, the aims of that are not aims against your own, right? It's to take that religious energy and divert it to a good political project and a good religious project, which is far better than obstinately being a shithead like somebody like Bill Maher. Because look where Bill Maher ended up, right? He was a dandy fucking atheist.
Oh yeah, I watched whenever he did that documentary where he tore them apart. Like it's like a comedy documentary where he just goes
Yeah.
around and interviews all different religious people and dunks on them. Whenever he first did that shit, I was like, "Oh, this is dope. This is funny." You know, not knowing like how things were gonna go. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the idea of that movie now, like if I heard that some obnoxious like fucking blue MAGA centrist shithead was making a big movie where he dunks on religious people as a lib, I would like burn that shit before it could get to theaters. Like,
Yeah, it needed to be.
I would be at the studio screaming "No, stop!" and jumping in front of the camera and shit.
In retrospect, it needed to be because what it did is it gave permission to right-wing assholes to take religion and use it to weaponize it against black bodies and women and the usual suspects, right? The usual victims.
Right.
The usual victims, trans people, all that, because he gave permission for that by looking like a smug, snarky little bitch. Good job, Bill Maher.
Like,
you're
like
you are. Oh, hold on. He's part of that cultural milieu that has produced this. Like that's absolutely it. Like,
yes.
That's just part of it.
He didn't necessarily extend permission because privately they all know that they will at some point. He adjusted the rules of engagement that we were talking about earlier of like how justified it is. And the next day after that movie came out, your chud friend at work said some shit like, well, if they ever try to come in my house and take the Bible away, like it lights that spark of like this reactionary fucking dependent little base that they have walking around and fucking putting that juice out all the time of like, I wish a motherfucker would. The Kyle Rittenhouse shit. Like, gross.
Well, again, they have certainly a higher monopoly on religion. They have a very high monopoly on religion. And look where the country has gone. Because we've just ceded ground. Because the left, like if we were to take stock of our failures, right? This is a failure of the left just as much as it is of the liberals. And we know the liberals were active co-conspirators in this whole fucking affair.
Yeah.
And I can't stress it enough. When women said, like, you got to do something about this, they're about to take my rights away, they drafted emails to fundraise on it and found an IDF poem to read.
Yeah.
They planned on doing nothing, and that's exactly what they did. So they're co-conspirators. It's undeniable. Your eyes are not lying to you. But as leftists, what we did is we ceded cultural ground after ceding cultural ground to protect what little we had. We had nothing. You needed to go take. The workers have nothing. So you need to learn to take. You need to go into those spaces and give them an alternative. And you need to take those people away from them. And they go, I don't want to talk to these people. I have too much fucking social anxiety. Then frankly, shut up. I mean, I'm being very frank. Shut up and get out of the way. Let somebody who can and will do the work. Get out of the way. That's fine.
The discussion card for leftist politics is revoked from all people who refuse to talk to a person that makes them uncomfortable. If in real life you refuse to do that, then we don't want to hear what you think we should do when we're doing it in our jobs and in our lives.
If you are not trying to steal them back, you don't have to like them. Nobody said. I never said you had to like anybody.
Yeah, they're fucking terrible. God, don't do that. Don't like them. They're awful. But
But if you're not trying
they're real.
They're real. They vote. They think things. They take action.
Whoa. Let's not go to a stretch here.
Well, I mean, no, but we have, I mean, honestly though, right? If we're going to sit here on a little podcast, do a little talkie show, we have to be honest with ourselves.
Yeah.
We have to be very honest because we're guilty as well. I mean, it's not like we did anything epic. Like we could have,
100%. Yeah. I was already firmly in the white moderate camp before I even became like a leftist. Like I already had so much great stuff that if I ever stepped out of line that they could threaten to take it away from me, I already was the literal definition of the white moderate character from Letter from a Birmingham Jail Cell before I even thought of becoming a socialist. Before I even thought of openly saying that, I already was on a leash made of my loved ones and possessions.
Right.
Like, one hundo.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. And like, so we have to take stock of the failure. And we have to look for opportunities. Where were we right? We were right about the Republicans all along. They were not your friends. This was not a spirited
Yeah.
political debate. It had real tangible meaning for millions of people. And you fucking
Right.
squandered
This
it,
is
liberals.
no more talking. It's on site now. That's
Again,
how it's been for a long time.
right? But
And
what I
yet
am
you
saying is,
still
though,
open up the paper of record and you read a fucking moving editorial from a centrist, or it's a call for reason, or my friend is a Republican. Like, no.
the thing,
There's no contribution that conservatism has left. It's only an argument to kill people and take shit away from them.
you're literally watching their philosophers apply logic and reason according to their worldview and producing outcomes.
Right.
The presumption
Right.
was always these people are unreasonable because they dangle the chodes in front. They dangle the dogs in front, right? They bring out the dancing monkeys. They bring out the wild fucking animals and let them talk about magic resurrections in the desert of Texas.
Yeah. Yeah. Or they have MTG doing the Jewish space laser show in front of everybody for a week, and then they're just doing whatever, Federal Society judges, whatever, while we're all wondering, how are they letting this lady say this shit? Like, they love that she's saying that shit.
They do. Because they love looking reasonable. I'll tell you what, your reason, again, has cost millions of people. So your reason is fucking worthless, frankly. Because you don't do anything with it. When they reason things through according to their worldview and come to a rational conclusion according to their worldview, things get worse. Because they apply their reason to reality. It's not just a game. It's not just a gentleman's debate. It's not a game of devil's advocate.
Yeah.
It's a real life or death situation for them. They are applying reason to it. This is your filthy adherence to utilitarian thinking.
It's a giant whiteboard covered with complicated equations and the most complex mathematics you've ever seen, but then at the bottom is just a little fucking sum line just drawn, and underneath it is a number of people that should die because they don't contribute anything.
Yeah, these are Malthusians.
That's it.
These are Malthusians, so they believe in suffering. And here's the thing. This is another thing people don't want to recognize about the Republicans. Like, they're just like Anna Kasparian was screaming about it today, and good for her, right? Glad you caught on, right? But they really, as an ideological project, they believe the suffering is necessary and even justified. They believe that. So when they believe women should risk dying if they want an abortion, and they should risk jail time for getting an abortion, that they have to get away with murder to do it because it causes some of them to die. That lowers the population. Their goal is depopulation, right? You hear the Republicans scream all the time, Bill Gates is trying to depopulate the country. Motherfucker, you're trying to. You can't be trusted. Your goal is to depopulate the country because you want to replace black bodies, brown bodies, Jewish bodies. You know, you want to replace these bodies with white people or nothing.
Yeah.
So you're the same.
They're having the same sweaty fear fantasy all the time that, like, Steve Bannon, for example, was having when he said Camp of the Saints. Renee, whatever, the French author that wrote that incredibly racist thing, Camp of the Saints. He said it's a great book. Everybody should read it. All it is pages after pages of horror movie descriptions of, like, the brown and the unwashed masses pouring out of boats onto, like, European and American shores. That's all it is. Like, that's the motivating thing at the core of their brains. Like, I don't understand how anybody can listen to them talk about increasing a population or, having more babies in this country and think that they actually mean to include anything that isn't white as anything other than a servant class.
They don't. And what they need to do it, they need, again, as we're finding out today, they need women to not have the ability to control their own bodies. They can't control their economic destiny. They can't control their medical destiny. They cannot control their destiny to do it. So guess what? Their political project says, fuck them. They they pump out religious information that says, fuck them. They get women to co-sign it. It's not hard to find women to co-sign it. When your options are like, no, good news, we can get you out of all this debt by exchanging your child for it instead of giving them an alternative explanation of what abortion is. Well, yeah, they feel guilty afterwards, and then they turn. It's not when they're like, oh my God, can you believe Lauren Boebert had abortions? Yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly think that's part of the pro life pipeline, is because they've had an abortion, and what do they have to show for it? They were promised some sort of they were promised that if they were willing to make this exchange in blood, that they would have some sort of economic freedom that they didn't get.
Yeah.
They were lied to. You lied to them.
And if they say that they wish they had done it, no shit. You probably wish you hadn't done like 90% of everything that you've done, motherfucker.
Yeah, and they don't have an answer for that part. They refuse to come up. They don't even try to come up with one, frankly. Outside of basically like, well, at least you're not in debt. Well, that's fucking horrific. That's fucking what? The closest you have are what, like the antinatalist left? Useless. Yeah, frankly useless. They're like, you get more vacations and time. Like, to them, they're struggling with an ethical question about why they took an action that they feel would alter their destiny to an insane degree. And your answer is they get to play more video games and eat more treats. Jesus Christ.
If that's a foolproof solution, then why is every single HR training video that you ever see now about discrimination, why does it get to the part where you can't discriminate against a woman because she's pregnant and you can't not give her a promotion, and all that shit is written in all caps, and all that shit references the 10,000 times that the company has been sued for doing exactly that, because they all still do it every fucking time. If saying that being in that position is some kind of advantage, if that's true, then why is the biggest, loudest part of all that shit saying not to do that? Because everybody fucking does that. Like, it doesn't work. It's proven that it doesn't work. Like, it's incrementalist bullshit, and, you know, we were making fun of incrementalist bullshit earlier, but, you know, it under no circumstances is it going to work.
Yeah.
We're either going to watch this thing spin until it stops, or some kind of dramatic event is going to occur that completely changes the options that are on the table. There's not going to be 2 or 3 or 500 or 1,000 years of gradual progress towards a liberal idea that European countries had 10 years ago. It's not going to fucking happen. Like, I know people don't like that, but it's just not.
I can tell you as an Appalachian man, okay? When I talk to women about this issue, the women who've never had one are generally speaking women who are pro-abortion. And the women I talk to who've had one always skew older. They had one and they regret it. And part of that regret is because the left as a political project and the liberals as a political project had failed to allow them an avenue to contextualize it as something that is still a positive.
Hell yeah. The best they can do is a dumbass t-shirt that screams like abortion is radical or some stupid shit. That's the best they can do.
Yeah, right. That's gross.
There's like 10,000 of them. If you Google that shit, it's going to be every punk rock 1975 screaming skull design that you could imagine hollering out that it's radical or the bomb or some shit. That's the best they can do.
Yeah. Because they don't have an ideological conception where the abortion is part, you know, they can play lip service to it, right? But they don't have an answer for, and it's funny because there's a scientific answer for it, but I can tell you the scientific answer really means fuck all for people who are looking for meaning in their life and their life choices. Right? Scientific answer doesn't mean dog shit. Why are you trying to arrogantly play pretend that it does? So these are people who have made a decision that they now feel guilty about, and white society tells them they ought to. So what do? They do the next best thing. They try to make sure you can't have one. They try to make sure that you can't follow. They do. I'm going to tell you this right now. They genuinely believe that they are helping you avoid a bad decision. They're helping you avoid sin. And you have ceded religion to them such that there's no alternative narrative. That their actions weren't sinful. That what they did was entirely within their agency as a human being and sanctified by God as an act of doing so.
God damn it.
Yeah, you don't.
This shit is so dark. This shit is beyond like horror movie dark or surrealism dark or Cthulhu dark. This shit is like 16th century Catholic, like, Gustav Doré carving dark. This shit is like the level of failure. And we can't do a lot, but we can chart how badly that any kind of left operation in America has failed. That's the level of the failure. The failure is some, like, the whole just chapel roof just covered in endless etchings of, like, demons and angels. Like, there's no. These motherfuckers have been allowed to get all the way to Mormonism, all the way to new versions of Protestantism, and all the atheists and intellectuals and scientists have what, like, just saying reason over and over again. Yeah. Thousands of years of them making up all this cool shit for people to think about and do, and all these meaningful rituals to, like, give time and meaning in people's lives. Like, they've been letting them do that for thousands of years. And the best thing they got is a t-shirt with a skeleton on it that says abortion is rad. I mean, this is fucking bad, man.
Yeah.
How do you catch up from that?
I mean, it's hard work. I don't know what else to tell you. Like, that's the thing. Like, leftists, like, we are allergic to the notion that it's a hard political project before us. Right? Because we're all the mentally ill children of these fucking goobers, the Gen Xers and the fucking boomers.
Yeah.
We're all sick in the head from it. So the notion of this level of hard work is something we frankly don't want, right? We would like to just, we would like to do no more than carry out, go to the manager of capitalism and be like, no more capitalism on the menu.
Yeah.
Well, you boil it all down. That's what you find, right? And instead, like, the Republicans are happy to do the work. They're not lazy. That's not the thing that they are. You can't confuse them for lazy goobers. They have a sobering, antithetical to you worldview that they exercise on the world. And they have a religious view. No matter how goofy that religious view is, again, they went to the desert waiting for the second coming of a dead man.
They did too. They went. They believe it enough. They went to Ukraine.
Yeah.
Yeah. They believe it. They act upon it. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. They really do. I mean, like, if you want to be cold, they see themselves as Jews, right? They really, at least the post-birth of Christ Jews, they wandered the desert. Now they're fucking looking for the dead man to rise out of the cave.
Right, like, you read this book that is supposed to be their central book of, theology and teachings and, like, the history of their people and shit, like, according to them, even though when all that shit was happening, they were hanging around in Gaul, like, worshiping Stonehenge or what the fuck ever, even though that, they have adopted this book as part of their racial and central identity, right, for the most part. So, they read it, and then they're like, who the fuck are these Jew fellers getting all the attention? What? This whole shit seemed like it's about this. Is it this motherfucker David? Is he a white guy? What do you mean they're white passing? Like, the Chud is taught this his whole life and builds up this idea of, like, it seemed to be also about these other characters. Aren't these the main characters? It's just like white people's civil rights. 1960s civil rights struggle also becomes about white people in their minds.
Yeah.
And they play act at a version of it now when they're being censored and they're being shadow banned and shit.
They are being driven by the Egyptians, yes. They believe they are the first Christians. I mean, for them, what they're doing is they're living out the Bible. I can't say it enough. They wandered the desert looking for their Messiah to rise again. And to anoint them with a King David figure to run the show. There is no reason not to believe.
And if somebody would provide them with any alternative, you can't say how many would change, but you know that some of them would, because their main thing that they're supposedly so all agreeing about is already splintered into shit that's as different as, FLDS, Mormon polygamy psychos, and Quakers. Like, those are two really different things that exist under the same umbrella. I mean, you get that far out and they're less political. My grandparents on my mother's side, Seventh-day Adventists, and they remained non-political. which to me is an astonishing thing to see Christians do. But, both of their old asses, great generation, weird Adventist asses, said that it was bullshit all the way until the 90s, early 2000s when they passed away. That's very different from evangelicals and Baptists and shit like that. There's a lot of room for play here. If somebody could create, something good that wasn't that, maybe the next step from Mormonism. What would be super Mormonism? What would be Mormonism that was secretly socialism? How could you do that?
Well, you can't. Mormonism is the religion of capitalism. It is the fusion between the economic and the theological ideologies.
But what if I had a hat? What if I had a hat and I said I had some gold plates in it?
I mean, you can try.
And I went to Utah. And I said nobody could look at the plates but me.
Yeah.
What would they say? How would I try to tweak it?
I don't know.
Maybe
I don't know. I don't think you can. Because literally it's the capitalism as a religion. That's all Mormonism is. It's not a very flashy thing, but it's brutally effective because it gives you a religious doctrine to continue to do your economic misery. That's why white people like fucking Mormonism so much. And
so if that's
at the current trajectory, you're going to find a lot more women, and you're going to find a lot more fucking black men and Latinos turn to Mormonism, because if all you're going to offer them is more capitalism, they're going to get more conservative, and that's going to rise as well, and it's not going to be at all ironic. It's not going to be weird. It's going to be very obvious. If you teach them that the only way forward is through capitalism, they'll become more capitalistic, and they will turn to the religion that backs capitalism. The hardest. Yeah. So none of this shit.
That shit's a dead end. You're correct. That is no surprise. That shit is a dead end. So you can't tweak the final form of Christianity into something else, which is undoubtedly Mormonism is practically functionally the final form of Christianity. So you can't tweak that into something else.
There's nothing final about it. There's no finality in Mormonism. It's just a matter of, in that regard, you just can't take the capitalist thing and say now it's communist, but and it's good actually. No, you can't do that.
Yeah.
It's institutionally. Yeah. So it's not even really funny to try because there's no way to warp it, because it's so based in hierarchy and exploitation and the advantageousness of the market and worshiping the market and the rituals necessary.
I'm trying so hard to visualize, instead of tweaking it, an alternative to it, and I'm conjuring up images of Soviet pro-worker posters and shit like that, and I'm trying to think what could you show them right now while they're already shooting this other dope traditionally into their arm that they were raised on? What could you show them right now that would make them want to put down the needle and shoot up the new dope? I'm just trying to think of what kind of imagery, what could there be that could supplant the story of the Jews and ostensibly also the story of civil rights in the 60s, the suffering people driven out of Egypt. What could supplant their massively aggrieved complex where they see themselves as that figure? What kind of fantasy? Maybe, I don't know. I guess it already happened. I guess all this already happened. Debs did it better than anybody, right? Debs went out there and told them that the capitalist was draining their very blood and soul, right?
Yeah, up until all the raping, Jim Jones did it just fine. You have to focus on community building and you have to focus on building a community. You have to focus on a genuine anti-racism politics that seeks to destroy whiteness. That's what you have to do. You have to be direct about it, and you have to include white people in the project. That's the thing. A lot of anti-racist politics are confrontational to every white instead of the John Brown white model, right? John Brown was certainly a religious man, right? How could the thing to look at? I'm not even being shitty here. Look at what John Brown did, right? You want to know how to do it? That's how you do it. John Brown was all of the things the conservatives just love, and he went ass kicking on slave owners because he had a genuine conviction that all were in God's kingdom and this slavery was bullshit and satanic, and that he just couldn't stand.
Broke, using a time machine to kill Hitler. Woke, using a time machine to kill Jim Jones.
Woke is using a time machine to save John Brown.
Yeah.
And I always kind of joke that if If you can't have a John Brown, at least have a Tecumseh Sherman, somebody who's just not going to tolerate that shit. Just frankly,
He tried fire.
yeah, it's those are unequivocally the three best white people in history have been Tecumseh Sherman, John Brown.
Yeah.
John Brown was first, but I
Yep.
can't. Who do I personally love the most? Sherman,
Yeah.
because when Sherman was like, I know how to get the sin out of you, boy. Gonna burn you.
Yeah.
I burned
Yeah.
your house down. You ain't gonna be sitting in that house no more. Simple.
Yeah. Yeah.
And who was that white dude in Mississippi who ended up getting hanged, but he married a black woman and he went ape shit on the Confederates.
Oh shit.
You
Oh
remember
god.
that guy? I mean, I'm sure they don't teach it in schools.
It's one of those historical figures that has a name so ridiculous that you can't really remember it.
Yeah.
If we were doing riffs about like ridiculous white people names, we would think of it and be like, "Oh yeah, that guy." But like unless you're in that mode, like let me try it. Okay, when we were vacationing in the South Carolina Lowcountry, while driving through Clarendon County, we saw a sign to elect Bubba Tripe. If you want to find out how that election went, I haven't looked it up, listener. But if anybody's listening, if you want to find out how the election went, go ahead and call me a liar and Google Bubba Tripe.
Yeah. But yeah, no. I mean, those are the three best white men in history, hands down. Why? Because all three of them had a very militant attitude towards dealing with the shit once and for all.
Yeah.
They wanted to solve the problem. Like those are the heroes you could be teaching. That's an option. That's an option white families make. They don't teach those white people.
Yeah. Also, undoubtedly Christians who internalized, the messages of the Bible, which, you can't just, all this stuff that these people are doing is bad, actually.
I'll say this too, right? Ta-Nehisi Coates would be like, well, he probably wouldn't have anything bad to say about John Brown, though he might call him crazy, right? Which is, of course, like the way they turn to it, like, oh, believing black people are people is crazy. Like you're just okay, good job, Ta-Nehisi Coates. Way to back white supremacy while you're trying to, trying to argue that white supremacy is bullshit. Good job there. That you've done super well. Really convincing stuff. Because if you want me to be very cold right now, people like Ta-Nehisi Coates are absolutely promulgating white supremacy. They are definitely enabling and promulgating white supremacy. 110%. What you're seeing here right now, people like Clarence Thomas, absolutely promulgating white supremacy. Wooing a whole bunch of women to promulgate white supremacy, and they're finding that out now. They're learning the hard way that their whiteness is not going to save them because they are not the same type of white. They are not the proper kind of white. They're not a white male.
I saw Clarence Thomas promulgating some powerful white supremacy on Twitter earlier today. Did you see that shit I posted in the Discord?
But yeah. Somebody like Ta-Nehisi Coates, right? Let's talk about that too. Let's real brief. Let's just talk about Ta-Nehisi Coates, right? Ta-Nehisi Coates essentially tells you not to trust any white man. No, you should vet them. But I'm telling you right now, you got John Brown sitting there. He's doing more than a modern John Brown would be doing far more than Ta-Nehisi Coates could ever hope to dream, because Ta-Nehisi Coates benefits from white supremacy in the periphery.
Yeah,
having white supremacy in his periphery benefits him, right? Let's be fucking cold about it. He's a lib. Libs benefit from white supremacy regardless of skin color.
Yeah.
So he has a vested interest in it. He actually needs a stagnant political situation with white supremacy being present, so that he can continue to make money. That's how he makes his economics. Yeah. He's not really invested in the project of black liberation. He's not invested in the project of ending white supremacy. He's not invested in taking the burdens of masterdom from whites.
Yeah. Like, you can sort of trust some white people sometimes, but you're a lot safer doing that if you use the scale that you laid out just now, where those are the three greatest white men in history. If you use that scale, then you'll know exactly what white people to trust. You can ask yourself, have I seen this white person do something bad to another white person?
And why? Why did they do it?
Yes.
Why did they do it? Because you're seeing look at Brett Kavanaugh right now. He's fucking over white women. Amy Coney Barrett is a rape victim at the hands of white supremacy. What did she do? She voted to fuck all women.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now, if that's not, if Amy, I've been told I'm too patriarchal, right? As a white-skinned male, as a Jewish male, I'm far too patriarchal. Which one of us achieved a victory for patriarchy today? Was it me or was it Amy Coney Barrett?
Yeah.
Amy Coney Barrett does
She-
far more for the project of gender discrimination and the project of holding
Yeah.
white women down than I ever could.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Oh
know,
God. And she, on their scale, on the identity scale, she is handicapped beneath you by 1.0 whole genders. Like,
yeah,
you know, like, so how did she do that then? How is that possible then?
because you serve the project. I don't serve the pro. It's that simple. I don't serve the. I don't benefit.
Yeah.
Like I don't make it easier for them. But again, if you subscribe to very dumb lib theory, right? If you subscribe to genderism without politic, without any class politic, yeah, of course I am. I'm inherently worse than Amy Coney Barrett. It doesn't matter because you're only really looking to see if my pants have a bulge or not. That's all you're looking for anyway to determine who's backing the patriarchy and who isn't. So there's nothing that Amy Coney Barrett can do wrong. So when this shit happens to you, you're fucking blindsided.
Yeah.
You were dumb for believing her. She lied to your face. We all knew she was lying on the left. You believed that she would uphold women's rights. She's not interested in women's rights. She's on their side.
They think young people, they think their Zoomer children are going to be like resonating with any of this. Like all of this stuff is like resonant after effects of values that boomers developed during like first wave feminism. Like all of this stuff is it's from essentially a poisoned well that the Zoomers don't care about. Like it's really easy to imagine a child, now with liberal parents or Republican parents, either one of them could easily be reading this headline on Twitter on their phone and thinking, wow, that lady said nobody should be having an abortion. Maybe she's right. That's kind of bomb that a lady did that or whatever. Like they just see power being wielded effectively. They're not gonna subscribe to some kind of notion that there are nuances or layers to it. Yeah. Because all of that shit is just the memory of the world of the boomers. Like that shit is evaporating so much, so fast every day.
Well, it's making them alive.
Yeah, it's making them do wild shit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, definitely. Cannot conceive of their own mortality, would never dream of it.
No. And now it's staring them in the face, so they got to do as much damage as possible so the world has to recognize their greatness. Yeah. That's part of it. That's certainly a part of it. There's certainly, people are like, oh, age politics are stupid. Yeah, well, you know what?
Yeah.
Except we're living it, so, no matter how dumb it is, that's what you're living under. So you have to deal with it. You have to reconcile it, and you have to recognize it, and you have to combat it.
Yeah.
Like, you can find it shitty all you want. You can find it stupid. You can find it lame. You can find it overblown. And yet, that's what you're dealing with right now. Gen Xers and Boomers are just taking away your rights. Because those Gen Xers and Boomers are Gen Xers and Boomers in the context of capitalism where they hold whiteness. So yeah, you can say like it's wrong, it's the wrong conception. It sure is, and yet, here we are. What do you do about that? What do you do? Like I said.
Cue Samuel L. Jackson voice. You ain't gonna do a goddamn.
Yeah. You're not gonna do a goddamn thing sitting around pretending somehow that you can trust these people. Well, you should listen to their words.
Sons of Trier Broadcasting does not condone doing a goddamn thing.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Asterisk, anybody doing a goddamn thing is not condoned.
Liberals, I'm going for the high score.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's what you're dealing with, but that's really it. When you want to talk about the abortion issue, let's be really fucking cold. It's a massive failure of liberal and left politics, and it's a massive victory for the right wingers. They're achieving what they wanted to do. The project of whiteness is advancing back to what it was at its worst levels.
Yeah.
And without any kind of application of political force, that means actually fighting for what you believe in, then yeah, they're going to win because they're willing to fight. You're not. You're fucking too scared. And it is what it is, right? Okay, your rights are gone. That's the outcome. Not doing anything is not going to do you any good. We're going to have to start doing shit, and that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
And the other thing is you have to be afraid to fail. The good news is you really can't fail harder than by doing nothing. Trying and failing, I'll tell you what, if nothing else, this has really revamped me on a Bernie 2024, right? Because that would be trying something.
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah. I would love any excuse to talk about socialized medicine again. Talking about socialized medicine under any context in this country, because it would fix so many different things,
Yeah.
feels like that you're wielding a tool that really does just like any problem that a person is having. Like, okay, how easy or hard would it be to enforce a ban on all abortions if every doctor in the country already saw everyone equally? Instead of there being rich doctors and poor doctors, what if all doctors were part of some kind of giant organization that gave care to everyone in the entire country free at no cost? What if that, do you think they would come together and defend a woman's right to have a fucking abortion? I think they would be more likely to do so. I don't know. That's just me. But yeah, if that motherfucker runs, I'll definitely talk about socialized medicine some more. I'll do that shit right up until they screw him in the fucking primary, and I won't even be sad about it this time.
I did last time.
Yeah. Last time I had my Hunter S. Thompson moment. Last time I saw the wave break and finally roll back
Last
into
time
the
I was
ocean.
like, oh, they're gonna rig it, but
Oh yeah. Well, they
gotta at least try.
I'll
Try
tell you what.
something.
If I were the Democrats right now, I would resign myself to rigging the next election and not even feel bad.
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure.
I
Because
would-
you care enough that you would want to win.
yeah,
I think they're ready to abdicate and go work on cable news.
a lot of them. Yeah, they are. I mean, look at Jen Psaki. Look at sassy Jen
Yeah.
Psaki. Look what she did. She didn't do shit. All she did was run lies for Biden and cover for his lazy ass. She had a
Some
window.
girl somewhere probably got a tattoo of Jen Psaki riding the bomb like Slim Pickens and Dr. Strangelove and going Psaki bomb.
110%.
Somebody probably got a tattoo of that. Jen can definitely take credit for having caused that to happen because that definitely happened.
Yeah, that's the best we're getting out of her.
But-
So that was useless.
Other than that, yeah, just a completely useless parasite.
I'm gonna be very blunt right now. Like right now, what I would do is I would take stock, right, of everybody who's been wronged by the American government, starting with black people and the indigenous, and my platform would just be like, yeah, it's time to pay reparations and fix this shit once and for all.
Yeah.
It's time to end whiteness.
Yeah.
Like, and I know
Yeah.
that's not going to garner you any votes. It's not going to get you any friends. But I'll tell you what, like that's where you need to start. And they're like, we're talking about abortion. We're not talking about you. You know, you have two options. If you think that the abortion ban is not harming women, then no, you don't deserve any reparations. For all the women, like, you're right. You're the problem in the scenario. If you don't see that as another thing to be added to the docket on the long list of wrongs that need to be righted, right? Then yeah, if you can only think about yourself in the immediate in the aftermath of this tragedy, because it's part of a way larger set of tragedies, right? Then yeah. You're the problem. So no, fuck you. You know, I don't care. I'm not getting the political power to do this anyway, and frankly, the political power required to do it would take a little bit of force, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know this, but I kind of like that guy Mao Zedong. So that application of force to right these wrongs doesn't really. I don't see much of a moral qualm with it, right? Like that, it's the same thing as the good guy. If you believe that there are genuinely scenarios where a good guy with a gun can right a wrong, nothing I have said is offensive. If you genuinely believe that, nothing I have said is offensive. So again, if I could apply the political force necessary to make these things happen, yeah, that's where I start. I just start with a list of victims and payouts.
Yeah.
We start righting these social wrongs, and we start destroying whiteness, and fucking go from there.
Yeah.
Because right now it's going like shit for a lot of people, and instead of detracting, they're adding to it. And instead of focusing on a holistic project of justice, people are hunkering down into their fucking identities.
You know, the
No,
thing
but-
about
You know, the other way to put
the
it,
thing about an orchestrated, government-sponsored fleecing and humiliating of the white race. The thing about doing that,
it's not going to be.
not only did they say that it was going to happen,
Yeah.
but they're saying that is happening every day. And after Biden isn't president anymore, that's what they're going to say happened.
Yeah.
So really, the Democrats might as well have done that.
The Democrats have been giving.
Why not do it?
The Democrats have been giving credence to the notion of the replacement theory now for 30 years. When they talk about like when you talk about how demographics is destiny, that's not a political project. That's I'm going to wait the whites out. So how did they respond? How did they respond? They respond by making it impossible for white women to have abortions. So
like,
and
it's going to get worse.
And in the really racist conception of liberals, they took Latinos from you. Because you thought Latinos were your property and their votes were yours by birthright, and they took them.
We had this sweet gig going where we were letting a couple of Cubans pop over and live in Miami if they would renounce communism, and those acted just exactly right.
Yes.
But then these other ones started fucking coming here without us telling them to, and that has been a shit show. Yeah. I don't know.
And in the face of overwhelming racism against them, they still pick the Republicans.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Big time.
Still pick the Republicans because you treated them like property to be played with. We're going to extract what the Democratic project has been is we're going to extract votes out of women and minorities, out of white women and minorities, and we're going to forego white men. That's been their project. And we're just going to leave it as a fatalistic notion that whiteness will be gently eradicated through the colorizing of the white race.
Just going to let that simmer. Just going to let that cook in the consciousness of the immiserated American white working class.
Yeah. How did they take it? How did they react? How did they take that? Maybe you need to have an affirmative political project that does something such that you have a platform to run on. You have a platform of justice. You enact reforms designed for justice. You do things. Right? You don't just allow the white race to be cucked out of existence, as the Republicans would put it. How about that? How about that? You do that instead. How about you offer them something that burden's going to be lifted, that worry, that perpetual worry of replacement and things are going to, because you're just going to be part of the team. You know?
Yeah.
Instead, investing in this political project is not the annihilation of the self; it is the unification of society. That was a thing you could have done. That's the line. That's certainly the line the progressives pushed, and look how well they do.
Yeah.
Look how well they do when they go with somebody like Manchin. That's because, frankly, and I'll say this too: when people go like, "You can't do better than Joe Manchin," there. Bullshit. You pump that money into a progressive and you make your message that you don't have to be destroyed by the Democratic Party. Instead, the Democratic Party can be a set of institutions that includes you too and benefits you as well. That's why we're doing this. They get theirs, you get yours. You'd be surprised. People go, that's not genuine anti-racism. I'll tell you what, as a stopgap measure, you'd be surprised at how fucking people shut their goddamn mouths and do what you want.
You could cover a lot of ground like that. And if something like that had been a priority over the last decade, we certainly wouldn't have seen some shit like we saw today. That much is certain, because ain't no shit like that just randomly happening in any other first world country because a right-wing party had control. Like, again, I feel pretty strongly that socialized medicine is one of those things that, now everybody has the same thing and is the same, that really has a transformative effect on a society. I just don't see, like, somebody telling a bunch of NHS workers that maybe some in some parts of England can do this and some can't, and them not responding to that as one group, right? Yeah. Like, I hate to say socialized medicine is the cure-all or whatever, but
it's not.
It's
about justice.
Not.
You have, once again, again, today, what do you have? You have white men and black men and white women all standing together to fuck over white women. You have a restorative justice problem for women. Prior to that, what happened? You had a white supremacist shooting. Prior to that, what did you have? A white supremacist shooting. Prior to that, what did you have? A white supremacist shooting. You have a restorative justice problem in this country. So that's the first thing you have to address. Again, it's not like I'm like, oh, now you're against Medicare for all, you stupid commie. No, I'm for universal health care, right? That doesn't
Yeah.
change. But the point is, this is not a universal health care problem. The women have been wrong today on the basis of Democratic inaction. The Democrats have to make part of their platform restorative. It has to be, we're going to restore those rights that we botched.
Do
We're
you
actually getting them back.
Do you remember both sides like salivating to see what the ruling was going to be against Derek Chauvin, against the cop that sparked 2020?
Yeah.
Do you remember the feeling of people just sitting there like, is there going to be justice or not? Is there going to be justice or not? Both sides of that just wrapped.
Yeah. But here's
I think you're dead on it.
Here's the thing. None of that was justice. That man is dead.
Oh yeah.
Just like how many fucking women are about to die?
Well, I knew people that
dead.
don't follow. I knew people that don't follow this stuff like we do.
Yeah.
That had some type of idea that after those riots, it was possible that Chauvin could get the death penalty. I knew people like at work and shit that like they saw the riots and in their mind, their conception of justice, without following all this stuff like we do. Yeah. As you said earlier, the mentally ill children of the fucking, vomit of the golden age or whatever, like, they don't track this like us. And people said to me, like, well, that guy's going to get killed, or just because of what they saw. They saw a police station burn to ashes.
Yeah.
Like,
one time.
Yes, one time.
One time it panicked them. If you want to talk about white fragility, one time at band camp, I burned a police station. Yeah.
Okay, so
no, if you want to talk about fragility,
you outlined earlier the need for an alternative to the rights offer of like a correct ancient religion with a bunch of fun mystical shit that means that you're the main character and women are property. Like, with restorative justice. Would restorative justice actually happening, would that be like the second coming of Christ for the left?
Hopefully.
It's the thing that never happens.
Here's the thing, though. Like, don't misconstrue my words. I said you can't take Mormonism because there's no way a communist can just take capitalism and make it good, actually. That
right.
That is a critical left failure in our thinking that we always, we're never right. We're never right. There's never, but it's good, actually. It's never, but it's good, actually.
I'm completely with you on like the suffering and the immiseration of white people publicly is like step one.
Well,
but I'm
not saying.
I'm thinking,
but again, remember, we have to be very careful. We're going to make a bold claim like that, because what we're talking about is people like explicitly, like Elon Musk needs to have his property seized in public and turned over, because that is a largesse of undue wealth. We have to have small businesses destroyed in that manner, right?
Certainly one of the most Musk's hoard is certainly one of the most egregious for the least work and least appreciated. Like, he's always sad. Like, he's a great example. Maybe the best, maybe better than Bezos, who is just sad all the time. But, now that he's had his public divorce thing, he just wants to quietly eat iguanas on a space station. He's not egregious like Musk is.
Right.
It's Musk now, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just using his as an example. Like, these are whites where their wealth needs to be taken from them. The burden of masterhood has to be removed by force. That burden of property and having to continue to oppress other people has to be taken from them by force if necessary. And they're not going to give up and just exchange it. But they're not likely to. Then it has to be taken from them. That burden has to be lifted. If we are a liberatory project, we have to make the bold assertion that being in the master class is as detrimental to the human spirit as being in the victim class. So just as we are going to enact restorative justice to make the victim whole, or do our goddamn best trying, we are going to alleviate the masters of their burden. And if they don't want to do it easily, they don't want to do that nice and easily, that's kind of a them problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's the thing. You have to understand. We can't look at it. We have to view it as our mercy. And you can't do. I'm going to contest that you can't really formulate that thought without having the notion of a just God. I'm going to make a very bold assertion here. Without having a notion of a just and loving God who will send somebody to take away your immiseration, you can't do it. So taking the trappings of Christianity and adding left politic into it and making that a part of your plan of attack functionally for winning at politics, I'm going to argue is critical. Because not all Catholics are hideous.
Yeah.
There are Catholic women right now who are lamenting that women are about to lose their rights in this country. It is not a critical failure of Catholicism, right? Amy Coney Barrett happens to be a Catholic who is very invested in white supremacy to the point where she will destroy other women without. She's feeling good tonight. She feels great.
Yeah, and how much difference is there really from the literal president who is also a white supremacist Catholic?
Yes. Right? He feels fine. He felt good enough that he'd go out and give a dumbass speech and not have to do. He spent knowing this was going to happen. He spent the last month doing absolutely nothing.
Literally, just a cartoon character of a classical style of racist. Just like a guy who, to him, his black acquaintances and coworkers and friends are cartoon characters to festoon his colorful stories about adventures in Americana, Mark Twain style. Like, just a cartoonish white supremacist Catholic. Yeah. And people are still like, oh, Amy, the Federalist Society. Yes, all those things.
Yeah, the Federalist Society is full of white supremacists. It's a white supremacist organization. They do white supremacy. Their job is to enact white supremacy in the courts. That's now we now have, if anybody was questioning it, it's a hate group, right? The neo-Nazis, in practice. Yeah. So we know that now. That's great. Now we know that. Now we need to do something with it.
Yeah.
The Federalist Society is full of fucking monsters because what they want to do is strip you of your rights. They want to use the power of the federal government to take your rights away from you. To uphold the project of white supremacy. Now, if using the state to uphold white supremacy is not the literal playbook of the goddamn Nazis, then the word Nazi has no fucking meaning.
Yeah. This shit, it's another case of false equivalencies, which is, just so popular in our wonderful shithole country, where even the most racist white kids on the planet, if they're 3 or 4 years old and they see a protest that's mostly black people, some of them are going to say, why are they allowed to do that if they've properly, taken in racism or whatever? Yeah. Some of them aren't going to say that. You're going to get about 50-50. But even the most, redneck white trash kids from around here, that are 3 or 4 years old, when they see the KKK on parade, 100% of the time they ask, why are they allowed to do that? And then depending on who their parents are, they, either somebody says, well, really they shouldn't, or somebody gives them a long speech about, freedom of speech and other people's ideas and shit like that. Yeah. But really though, before you get poisoned with a bunch of ideology, the first time you see a Klan parade, you do ask, why does the government let them do that? There's no, we're treading, tired ground, certainly for anybody that listens to this. The only cure for fascism, et cetera, but it includes the Federalist Society. It doesn't have to be some clown out in the street wearing a sheet or waving a Nazi flag or whatever. It includes them. It's all of that shit. There's no people were saying Fourth Reich, in early Trump or whatever. I'm certain that I was, but the more you think about it, this is really just still the Third Reich.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing it more. We're seeing it more and more, folks. We're seeing folks say, we're seeing it more and more. People saying, really, it's still the Third Reich.
Yeah. Yeah, we never grew past that. Remember, we just switched teams. World War II never ended. That's a hot take. Yeah. World War II didn't end. Still going, still fighting it. Only now we're the bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
All right?
Should have let the Soviets cook. The Soviets almost killed all of them. Should have let the Soviets cook.
Yep. Should have let the Soviets were dope, folks. Hot take. Soviets were good, actually.
Hot take. We're gonna get canceled on.
Well, chat. Thank you for joining us. It was wonderful, and it's always great to have you. We love to see it.
Yeah.
Holy shit, we did 2 hours tonight. This is a good ass episode. And yeah, I mean it. I mean it. Right? The way you should look at it, the way you should look at abortion is as a greater project of white supremacy. They looked at the Great Replacement Theory and said, "Not on my watch," and they're winning. So maybe your politics should not be formed around the Great Replacement Theory is good, actually. And, with that, I'm Dan. I was joined by Michael Jordan Peterson, Reposado, and the True Horror. Last but not least, at all, I love you all. It's tough out there. Be good to each other and be awful to Republicans. They don't deserve it. If you see them on fire, hold your piss till you find a bathroom.
Yeah.
Good night.